Tony D and Little Jones sitting in my lap, and this is a screenwriter's rant about the Avengers Doomsday. I guess you'd call it preview or teaser. Um, so let's talk about that. Smash a like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Thanks for checking out my books, The Pineys, books 1 through 17. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Now, I have written, as I just said, 17 Pineys books. I'm working on 18. You know what I try really hard to do? Not to repeat myself. Not to repeat bits or characters or especially villains. I try to find new pieces of South Jersey folklore to incorporate and stories, and I go out of my way to write something new. It gets very tiresome in a movie franchise or a TV show when you start bringing back characters, because that runs out pretty quickly. Now, there are exceptions if you use them extremely gingerly, callbacks. But the moment you start using a lot of them, the moment is that's when the show or the franchise is signaling that it's over or that the producers are desperate. I think in this case it's desperation. The MCU is coming apart at the seams cinematically, and comic books, forget it. In the comic books, they just announced that Mary Jane Watson is now Venom, so that's how that's going. So, what's wrong with this? I mean, well, as this Forbes article says, the cast list is bad for so many reasons. First, of course, there's Robert Downey Jr. himself. I would love to see him come back as Tony Stark. He's a comic book character. They've brought comic book characters back to life a million times in the comics. It would be literally no big deal. They would just have to come up with a story in which Tony knew he was going to die, and at the last minute he somehow got a fake body to take his place, or something like that. It would be a convoluted story, but nobody would care, because the moment you told the story, you could just move on and that would be it. So, but it doesn't appear to be the case. He's going to be Doctor Doom. He's a great actor, don't get me wrong. He'll probably do an amazing job. But unless his face is covered up the entire movie, it's going to be like, why is Iron Man attacking everybody? Now, the rest of the cast, I think, is very telling. Now, first you got Chris Hemsworth. He's sort of your anchor guy. He's Australian, and they don't care. He's like Michael Caine. He'll just work. Australians work. Him, Margot Robbie, a few other Australians, Russell Crowe. Oh, I need to be in another movie? Okay, sure. He's also great as Thor. He's really good in the role. Unfortunately, they kind of ramped up Thor a little too much. They kind of nearly destroyed the character. They certainly destroyed all the backstory. And that goes sort of double for Loki. I mean, Loki, they really went out of the way to destroy him, which is a shame, because they actually like Tom Hiddleston, and he's a good actor too. I think he would be good at just James Bond or something like that. But fortunately, the rest of his outside projects aren't really hitting traction, apparently. And the Loki show is just, to me, it's just an embarrassment. Then you got Ant-Man, Paul Rudd. I like this character. I didn't see Quantum Mania. I saw the first two movies. I liked the first two movies. I mean, they screwed the pooch on the third one. What are you going to do? It's a shame because the movie's about Ant-Man, not his daughter, who's like Little Miss Antifa. But again, this is all the damage Disney, the MCU have wrought upon itself. You got Mbaku, or I don't know. I can't read his name on these credits; they're too small. I believe he's one of the Black Panther dudes. I'm not sure why he's even in this. Black Panther, of course, but that's Letitia Wright. Um, again, after they sort of blew things with that movie, it looks like they're trying to salvage things. Same thing with Namor or Namor. Then you got Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi actually did well enough that he's fine to be in this lineup. From a comic book standpoint, though, he's not really all that much of a superhero. He wasn't in the mix for superhero stuff. Not really. Then you got, looks like the new Falcon. I guess that's a new Falcon. Let's see, do they have a list of names? Maybe I should read the names instead. Yeah, I guess it's the new Falcon. Really, that should be Anthony Mackie. And then they've got Captain America, which is Anthony Mackie. Another character they've destroyed, essentially. He's not Cap. He Cap 4 tanked, and but they're stuck. They're kind of stuck with him, because what are they going to do? They're going to fire the Black Captain America? Disney won't do that. They could bring back Chris Evans. Would he do it? I don't know. He's making a big deal that he doesn't want to do it. I think if you throw enough money at him, he'll do it. He's an actor. He wants to make money. His outside career outside of Captain America was okay before he was Captain America. It's kind of okay-ish now. He's in some new movies, but I think he'll eventually come back. Then it gets weird. You got Kelsey Grammer as the Beast. You've got Patrick Stewart as Professor X. You got Ian McKellen as Magneto. What's his face as Nightcrawler. Rebecca Romaine as Mystique. You've got James Marsden as Cyclops, and you've got Channing Tatum as Gambit. Now, was Gambit in the third X-Men movie? I don't even know, but because I didn't see it. But the other characters were, I believe, all in the third X-Men movie, the one that nobody liked. I'm not exactly sure why you would bring these guys back. This is the perfect time to recast them all. You could have gone with the younger version. Now, they were supposed to be these guys in their earlier days. But now it's been so long, those guys are older, and you could just pretend they're the same guys anyway. Why not? Why are you bringing back Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen? Two guys who are both in their 80s. I mean, they're fine actors, don't get me wrong. I don't even know why they're here, other than the money truck must have rolled up and they said, oh, yeah, let's do this. And well, I'll say this. Kelsey Grammer kind of got the short shrift as Beast because of that third X-Men movie. So at least he gets a chance to redeem himself in possibly a better movie. Possibly. But that's really, possibly. So I guess that's going to be the X-Men team. I'm not sure why Magneto's in it. Keep in mind, Magneto's a bad guy in the MCU. He would be with his crew. Then in the next row, you got the Sentry, the Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan, John Walker, U.S. Agent, I believe, Red Guardian, Ghost, and Yelena, what's her face, the Florence Pugh, the Black Widow. So the Thunderbolts are in it because I don't know. They haven't gotten the memo that the Thunderbolts movie's probably going to do slightly better than Captain America, but probably just going to tank anyway. And then, of course, the new Fantastic Four. You got Pedro Pascal and crew, and they're all going to be in it too. Now, why are these people specifically in the movie? Well, a lot of them are just famous enough. That's the issue in Hollywood. So when they're cast in a movie or a movie like this, they're not going to gravitate towards people because of their characters necessarily. They really want to try to come up with excuses to put the most famous people in if those famous people are willing to do stuff, right? And they need enough famous faces for box office. Now, Chris Evans would have been one of those people, but I don't think they want him. They want you to accept Anthony Mackie as Captain America. Which, what is this movie going to be? Is this going to be another movie where the Avengers all go, oh, you're Captain America? You're not Steve Rogers. Maybe. But I don't even know who the Avengers are supposed to be in this. I guess it would be Anthony Mackie as Captain America, the Falcon, his sidekick, Ant-Man, Thor, Black Panther, girl Black Panther. Then the X-Men will be their crew. The Thunderbolts will be their crew. You know. And they seem to be bringing back the people who are, again, the most famous, and some of them are character based. I mean, obviously, if you're going to bring the X-Men in, you need Professor X. You absolutely do not need Magneto, but that's where McKellen comes in. I think they want to just put him in one last time. Maybe they are planning to just reboot the X-Men here at the end of this thing. Maybe they're going to kill them all, and then it's going to be like a different universe. With other X-Men, I don't know, but it's just kind of a mess. It's just kind of a mess where you've got characters from disparate movies that probably aren't even in the same universe, and I know the Fantastic Four aren't in the same universe. So, what's the point of this again? Who's the attraction here? Okay. You got Robert Downey Jr., but he's not going to be Iron Man. So that kind of almost cancels it out. You got a fan base for Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston in this world, but there's so many other characters in it. Are you even going to get to see them? Well, you got the Patrick Stewart, Professor X, and Ian McKellen, Magneto. People like that. That's worth nostalgia points. But then you saddle him with the Beast, who was only in the third movie, and then you've got, a bunch of DEI hires mixed with a bunch of Thunderbolts who probably aren't going to do well. So, the Russo brothers' Electric State, somebody at the comic show said they tried to watch it and they couldn't get through it. That's bad. That's super bad. And it hasn't been getting great reviews. I saw The Gray Man, which was another Russo brothers film. The stunts on it are amazing, but the story itself, I found it hard to believe, number one, and number two, I felt it was undermined by the casting of Chris Evans as the villain. So that indicates to me the real creative force that made the Avengers, or the first sort of phase one, what it was Josh Whedon influence. Now they're not bringing him back, not anytime soon. Maybe secretly they could, if they paid them. I don't know what kind of tower of money you'd have to give him to ghostwrite something, but indicates to me that maybe Josh was the man. He was the man who pulled this Avengers thing together, at least initially. Now, Robert Downey had some influence too, but he doesn't strike me as a comic book guy. He strikes me more as actor guy. And the rumor is he wants to take Doctor Doom in a kind of a different direction, which doesn't bode well. If they go off in a weird tangent where his name is Doctor Doom, but it's not really Doctor Doom, or like it's an alternate version of Tony Stark, I gotta say that's gonna unravel this real quick for a lot of comic fans. And once you've done that, what happens? Well, what's happened every other time? They get very antsy indeed. And it doesn't matter if the movie's even good. You know, we talked a little bit about Daredevil tonight, and by all accounts, Daredevil's probably not as good as the first 2 seasons of the Netflix, but it's fairly watchable. Even Razor Fist isn't really complaining about it, and he's a very harsh critic, I would say, especially when it comes to Daredevil. But I gotta think the fans are not going to be happy unless this thing starts lining up with some semblance of what the comic book characters used to be. And a huge problem is, of course, Marvel Comics in its current form. They seem to be, completely ignoring the movies, and conversely, the movie people are completely ignoring Marvel Comics. Now, to some extent, in other times, I would have said, well, you know, the Marvel Comics guys have plans, and they can't just interrupt them for the movies every 10 seconds. That's how we ended up with the Superman wedding. But I have zero confidence in the creative abilities of the current Marvel talent. I mean, there's just nobody there I'm interested in. Maybe there's a handful of guys that are halfway decent, but there's so many terrible comics coming out. And again, I was just at a comic book convention. None of the fans initiated anything. I didn't see fans walking around with new comics, except a comic from a local creator. Good for him. He was selling some books today. He was doing well. Some of them had my books. Where are the fans buying new stuff? There are comic book stores that are completely out of new comics. They just don't even order them. And this is what I'm hearing on the floor of a comic book convention. They're saying, no, they're not ordering any of them because they don't sell enough. And so the discount's not worth it, and they're making all their money elsewhere. And this is something I talked about, that comic book stores would have to find alternate areas of profit, and they have. They're selling stuff online, and they're buying and selling the old stuff. Now that could keep some people in business, at least for a time. I don't think that's a long-term strategy for the industry. If the new comics aren't selling, you know, where's the story? You know, where's the comics going? You know, where's this Mary Jane Watson Venom comic even gonna be bought? You know, unless you order it specifically. So, and I wouldn't go into a comic book store and order it. No way. No way I would pay $5 for that piece of crap, in my opinion. I might go into the store and look at it. That would be the only way I would give it a chance. But, you know, for me, it would be more of a novelty. Like, oh, what's going on here? Oh, look how bad this is. You know, there's a lot of stores I've been to. They just have shelves and shelves and shelves of comics. And they're just not selling. Just not selling any of that new stuff. Now, the old stuff sells pretty good, but you're talking about older guys. They already know the stories, or they have a general grasp of them. Maybe they got some recommendations online. They're seeking them out, but overall, they're just going to look for good stories. I think the reputation of Marvel and DC as comic book publishers they're just as low as they've ever been. And it's low, man. It is low. So, in other words, even if you compare Marvel Comics to this movie, the Marvel comics are going to be a mishmash of stuff that kind of sort of might make sense to the people who read it. Probably won't make sense to me or most fans of the movie. So it's like they might as well be publishing completely different characters. And it's weird to say that because there was a recent article saying that these people were trying to generate ideas for the movies and the TV shows, which I don't know what the ownership situation is in that. But if I was told, hey, you're going to get a flat rate for your story, and they may take those stories and then develop them into $1 million movies and TV shows, I could guarantee you that the talent working there wouldn't be too happy unless they were going to get a cut of that. And if I was told, well, no, it's a flat fee, you're never going to get a cut of that, you're not going to see anything, that would be a very demoralizing moment. And a lot of guys won't give you their best if they know that information. So the stuff coming out of Marvel probably isn't going to help them. So who's the fan base for this movie, right? So if you got completely different storylines going on with whatever fan base is left of Marvel, and I couldn't even tell you who's still reading Marvel, you got big changes in the movie, the cinema, the MCU. This is not phase 1 stuff. Who's this movie for? A lot of people are just looking for an excuse not to watch it. At the end of Endgame, a lot of people just said, oh good, I'm done. It was Endgame. Endgame for me, it was a nice big finish, and I'm out. And then the next movie started to come out, and were they any good? I wouldn't say most of them were not successes. So, you're drawing back to the old X-Men movies. 2 out of 3 of those movies were a success. Maybe those guys come out. Maybe the guys for that come out. Thunderbolts, I don't think is going to be a success. Fantastic Four, I don't think is going to be a success. The diversity hires aren't really a success. You got a couple of phase 1 characters here. That's it. So, yeah, I don't think this movie can be successful, but who knows? It may be, it may make enough money to kind of justify its existence, but I don't think you're looking at $1 billion movie here. The earlier stuff had the goodwill of the fans, and I think Disney and the MCU have eaten up a lot of that goodwill. And now they're like, where's my money, or where's my character? Where's the thing I want to see? They're getting very impatient, I think. And the woke people that Disney seems to want to aim all their movies at, again, I don't think they'll be perfectly happy to pirate this movie, I think, or not watch it at all. To say they watch it and then, yell at anybody who refuses to praise it and then not even watch the damn thing. Because again, for them, it's about the virtue signaling. They don't really care about the movie. Anyhow, that's all just my opinion. And that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan. Sorry for the long ramble. We'll see you